I sat in the wrong seat at an alien banquet. Now I'm engaged to their deadliest princess. Alex Carter had never been to another planet before. He had spent most of his life on Earth, reading about aliens and watching films that tried to imagine what they were like. Now, standing on the landing platform of the Galactic cruiser, he could see them for real. The alien empire was enormous, stretching across hundreds of star systems. Even from space, their cities gleamed with light, and he felt a nervous excitement in his chest. He had been chosen as a cultural officer. His job was simple: observe, take notes, and make sure humans looked polite. He had hoped it would be safe. The cruiser's doors opened, and Alex stepped into a hall that seemed alive. The walls were smooth and shimmering, like liquid glass, and soft lights moved along them in patterns he could not understand. Aliens of all shapes walked quietly, speaking in tones that rattled like wind through metal. Some had wings, others had extra limbs, and all had eyes that glowed faintly. Alex kept close to his guide, a small humanoid named Lyra, who spoke basic English with a strange accent. "Follow me carefully," Lyra whispered. "You must not offend anyone, especially the royal family." Alex nodded quickly. He felt small and unimportant among the crowd, but he reminded himself he was trained. He had read every manual about alien etiquette, memorized dozens of gestures, and even practiced alien dining customs. He was prepared, or so he thought. They entered the banquet hall, and Alex's mouth fell open. The room was larger than a stadium, with tables arranged in long lines. Each table had decorations that seemed alive, moving slowly and humming softly. The ceiling sparkled like a night sky filled with stars, though Alex knew they were lights, not real stars. At the far end of the hall was a raised platform where the royal seat waited. It was enormous, made of shining crystal and decorated with symbols he did not understand. "Stay behind me," Lyra said. "You will not sit there yet. Wait for the signal." Alex nodded, but as they moved through the hall, he became distracted. The aliens were fascinating. Some were playing strange instruments, others were offering small glowing plates to guests. Alex saw food he had never imagined. There were fruits that changed colors, meats that floated above the plates, and drinks that sparkled like stars. He wanted to look closer, to taste, to take in everything. As he moved, he noticed an empty seat near the center table. It seemed unimportant, just a chair at a long line of tables. Alex's guide had stopped to bow to some aliens ahead, and Alex thought the empty chair was harmless. He sat down. It was soft and surprisingly comfortable. He let out a quiet sigh, feeling relief after walking for so long. Then the room fell silent. Alex froze. He looked around. Hundreds of alien eyes were staring at him. Some glowed brighter, others narrowed. He did not understand. Lyra's eyes widened in shock. She ran to him. "Alex," she hissed. "You cannot sit there." Alex tried to stand, but a hand on his shoulder held him down. It was not Lyra's hand. It was a tall alien in silver robes. His skin shimmered in green and gold, and his face was smooth with no hair. His eyes glowed deep purple. "He is seated," the alien said in a low voice. Alex did not understand the words, but he felt the meaning clearly. Something serious had happened. The doors at the far end of the hall opened, and Alex saw her. Princess Lyra entered. She was taller than most humans, with pale blue skin and hair that seemed made of light. Her eyes burned gold, and she carried herself like a warrior. Every step she took made the floor tremble slightly, not from weight, but from presence. The room seemed to shrink. Whispers went through the guests like wind through dry grass. She was known across the empire as their deadliest fighter. She had fought wars alone and won battles that entire fleets had lost. Alex felt his stomach tighten. She stopped at the raised platform. Her eyes scanned the room, and then, unexpectedly, they fell on him. Alex wanted to disappear. He tried to stand, to apologize, but the alien guards held him firmly. The room waited. The law of the empire was clear. Anyone who sat in the royal seat or next to it without permission was declaring a bond. It was an ancient tradition that could not be broken. Alex had accidentally challenged the royal bloodline. He could hear Lyra whispering, "Alex, do not move. Whatever happens, stay calm." Alex's mind raced. Bond, engagement, death. He had read about alien laws, but he had never imagined making this kind of mistake. The guests murmured. Some seemed angry, some curious, and a few were amused. The princess stepped down from the platform. She walked gracefully to the center table, stopping in front of him. Alex could feel her gaze like a physical weight pressing down. "You dare sit here?" she asked in her language. Lyra translated quickly. Alex's jaw went dry. I didn't know," Alex said, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to," the princess did not interrupt. She looked at him with a strange mix of curiosity and amusement. No human had ever dared sit in this seat, even by accident. Every other species would have fled or bowed immediately. Alex was human. He had no armor, no weapons, no way to defend himself, and yet he stayed. "The law is the law," Lyra whispered. "Breaking it could mean death." Alex felt panic, but he also felt a strange clarity. He had to survive. He had to do something right now. The princess raised her hand and the alien guard stepped back. She leaned closer. Her eyes were like burning stars. Alex could feel his heart pounding against his chest. "Why are you not afraid?" she asked, in words Lyra translated. Alex swallowed. I respect you," he said honestly. "I am just trying to survive." The princess studied him. Alex thought she might strike him, but she did nothing. The room held its breath. Then she nodded slightly. The engagement ritual had begun. Alex's stomach sank. He had no choice. Resisting could kill him. He was led to the royal quarters. The room was filled with alien art and strange lights. He tried to keep calm, but every sound, every movement made him nervous. He saw weapons displayed on the walls, trophies of battles he could not imagine. He was a human, fragile and small in comparison, yet he had been chosen. The princess followed him. She did not smile, but she did not show anger either. Alex noticed small details. The way she carried herself, the way her eyes scanned the room, the way she watched him as if trying to understand a new kind of being. "Humans are strange," she said quietly. Lyra translated. Alex felt a small relief. She was talking to him, not commanding him. I am learning," Alex said, trying to stay polite. "Please tell me what I should do." The princess looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Alex realized she was testing him, not physically but mentally. She wanted to see how he would react under pressure, in fear, and in a situation where every decision could be his last. He had no choice but to rise to the challenge. He would survive. He would learn. And somehow he would find a way to live in this strange alien world, even if it meant being engaged to their deadliest princess. For the first time, Alex felt something like determination. He had made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but he was human. Humans survived impossible odds. He would prove it even here on a planet far from home, in a palace filled with dangerous beings who could crush him with a thought. And Alex knew that this mistake, the wrong seat, was only the beginning. Alex Carter sat on a low bench in the royal chamber, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. The room smelled of sweet metals and strange flowers, and the walls glimmered softly. Everywhere he looked, there were symbols he did not understand, and the faint hum of energy made his head spin. He felt small and human in a place built for beings who could crush a human without effort. Princess Lyra stood by the window, looking out at the city below. She did not speak at first, just observed Alex as he fidgeted nervously. Her blue skin glowed faintly in the light, and her golden eyes seemed to see everything at once. Alex could not tell if she was angry, amused, or simply curious. "Do humans always make mistakes like this?" Lyra finally asked, her voice calm but commanding. Lyra, the small guide, translated quickly. Alex shook his head. "No," he said, swallowing. I've never done anything like this before. I didn't mean to sit there. I didn't understand the law. Lyra tilted her head. She had expected fear, but she saw something else in Alex. He was nervous, yes, but not completely broken. He had a strange courage. She wondered if this was what humans were like, fragile, yet unyielding in unexpected ways. "You will be tested," Lyra said. Her words were simple, but the meaning was heavy. "You must survive the rituals. Failure will bring shame or worse." Alex's stomach tightened. He had hoped for explanation, not immediate danger. "What kind of tests?" he asked. Lyra translated. "Strength, endurance, patience. Your mind and body will be challenged. Humans are weak in our terms. I will watch." Lyra's golden eyes locked on his, sharp and unyielding. Alex nodded, trying to appear brave. Inside, he was terrified. The first test began the next morning. Alex was led to a training hall filled with creatures he had never seen. Some looked like large cats with scales. Others had multiple arms and glowed with energy. The instructors were aliens with wiry frames and sharp eyes, moving faster than he could follow. His task was simple: survive the hall and avoid injury. The hall was not meant to kill him, but to show how easily a weak species could fail. Alex hesitated at the door. The creatures moved, sniffed, and circled him. He remembered his training: stay calm, observe, and act. He took a deep breath. The first creature lunged. He dodged barely and ran toward a low platform. The instructors watched silently. He felt his heart pounding, sweat dripping down his face. Every movement had to be precise. Every decision mattered. He survived the first round by a mixture of luck and careful observation. He noticed that the creatures followed patterns. They were strong but predictable. He learned to stay calm, to wait for openings, and to act quickly. When the round ended, he collapsed on the floor, exhausted but alive. Lyra was there, observing. She did not speak, but her eyes betrayed something close to respect. "Humans endure differently," Lyra whispered. Alex nodded, too tired to respond. He realized he had survived not because he was strong, but because he thought differently. He used patience and observation instead of brute force. The second test was harder. Alex was taken to the chamber of rituals, a room filled with heat and light. He had to walk barefoot on glowing stones, carry heavy weights, and recite alien phrases without mistake. The heat burned his skin, and the alien words twisted his tongue. He stumbled, but Lyra's eyes followed him, noting every mistake and every small success. "You are strange," she said quietly. Lyra translated. Alex paused. "What do you mean?" "You endure without giving up. Most species break when they are tested. Humans, you continue." Alex felt a mix of pride and fear. He was being tested constantly, yet he had not failed. The ritual was not over. He knew there would be more challenges. Over the next days, Alex faced endless tests. He had to negotiate with alien merchants using logic and observation, survive physical challenges in the palace gardens, and solve puzzles designed to confuse and frustrate him. Each time, Lyra watched, taking notes in her own way. The palace began to notice him. Whispers ran through the halls. Humans were not considered powerful, yet Alex survived when others might have failed. One afternoon, he was sent to the royal kitchens. It seemed harmless at first, just a simple task of preparing a ceremonial dish. The kitchen was massive, with floating utensils, ingredients that changed colors, and creatures that worked with precise movements. Alex felt overwhelmed. He tried to follow instructions carefully, but mistakes happened. A small fire started when a floating liquid spilled. He panicked. Lyra appeared suddenly, her presence commanding the room to stillness. She observed how Alex reacted. Instead of screaming, he quickly used nearby tools to control the fire, rescued the ingredients, and completed the dish, slightly burnt but intact. She nodded. "You are careful yet bold," she said. Lyra translated. Alex felt a small thrill. He was learning the language of the palace, not the alien words but the ways of behavior, courage, and endurance. Then came a test that surprised him. A young alien child had wandered into the palace garden, chased by a small but dangerous creature. The court expected Alex to run, as humans were considered weak. Instead, he jumped forward. Using quick thinking and some tools, he distracted the creature and saved the child. The court watched in shock. The princess's eyes widened. "Humans, you have strange courage," Lyra said. Alex realized she meant it as respect, not fear. It was the first time he felt he had impressed her. Over the weeks, Alex continued to learn the palace rules. He was careful, polite, and observant. He learned that not all aliens were cruel, many were curious, and some even respected effort. He noticed Lyra smiling slightly when he handled difficult situations. It was subtle, but he saw it. He felt a small connection forming. She was still dangerous, still deadly, but she was watching him as a person, not just as a human to be tested. One evening, Alex was allowed to sit in the library, a room filled with floating books and lights that whispered information. Lyra entered quietly, not to test him this time, but to speak. "You are learning quickly," she said. Lyra translated. "You are human, yet you understand more than I expected." Alex smiled, nervous. "I try. I do not want to fail. I want to survive and to understand your people." Lyra studied him. She seemed thoughtful. "You are small, fragile, yet you endure. This is unusual. Humans may be more dangerous than we thought." Alex felt pride. He had not thought humans were dangerous, only clever in small ways. But now he understood why the princess, the deadliest warrior of her empire, was intrigued by him. He was different, unpredictable. The palace began to change subtly. Servants treated him with more respect. Guards observed him with curiosity rather than disdain, and even other nobles whispered about the human who survived the princess's tests. Alex realized that survival was not just about obeying rules. It was about showing courage, respect, and a new kind of thinking. One night, Lyra asked him to walk with her in the palace gardens. The gardens were strange and beautiful, with glowing plants, floating flowers, and water that moved in patterns like ribbons. Alex tried to keep calm, but he was nervous. She walked beside him, her golden eyes fixed on his face. "You are not like the others," she said softly. "You think differently, act differently. Humans, perhaps you are dangerous, but in a way we do not understand." Alex nodded. "We survive by thinking, not by strength. We adapt." She smiled faintly. It was the first smile he had seen. It was small, but it made him feel like he belonged, just a little, in this strange palace. That night, Alex lay awake in the royal guest room, thinking about everything he had learned. He realized that the princess was not just deadly, but intelligent, cautious, and curious. He was terrified of her power, yet he felt drawn to her. He had survived by being human, by thinking differently, and by showing courage in small, quiet ways. He knew the tests were far from over. The palace still held dangers, rituals, and challenges that could destroy him. But he also knew that he had begun to earn the princess's attention, not as a weak human, but as a creature capable of surprising strength. Alex Carter was still in danger. He was still bound by law to the deadliest princess in the galaxy. Yet he had begun to survive, to adapt, and to learn. And in that survival, he had discovered something important. Being human might be his greatest strength of all. Alex Carter had been in the alien palace for weeks. Every day brought new challenges, strange rituals, and lessons in survival. The Princess Lyra watched him constantly, her golden eyes sharp and curious. Alex knew he could not relax. Even small mistakes could bring humiliation or worse. Yet, something had begun to change. The palace staff, the guards, and even other nobles had started to notice him, not as a weak human but as a creature capable of unexpected courage. One morning, Alex was led to the training grounds again. Today's challenge was different. He would face the palace beasts. They were large, dangerous creatures, used for combat training by the royal family. Most species fled from them, but Alex had no choice. He could not fail. If he showed weakness, Lyra might lose respect and the court could decide he was unfit to continue the engagement. The first beast was enormous, with glowing eyes and scales that shimmered like metal. It roared as Alex stepped forward, its claws scraping the ground. He felt his heart pound. He had never fought such a creature before. Yet he remembered his lessons: observe first, act second. He did not try to fight it with strength. He did not have any. He watched its movements, learned its patterns, and waited for the right moment. The beast lunged. Alex dodged quickly, rolling to the side and keeping low. He grabbed a heavy staff and swung it, not to hurt the beast, but to guide it toward a trap in the training arena. It worked. The beast stumbled into a restraining net. Alex exhaled, barely believing he had survived. Lyra was watching from above, her expression unreadable, but Alex thought he saw a glimmer of approval. The next challenge was a puzzle of endurance. Alex was placed in a chamber filled with heat, light, and moving obstacles. He had to cross the room without touching the moving beams or falling into pits of energy. Humans were considered weak in such tasks. Most alien trainees failed quickly, exhausted or overwhelmed. Alex took a deep breath and studied the patterns. He moved slowly, carefully, stepping only when he saw the right moment. His small size worked to his advantage. He could slip through spaces the larger aliens could not. Step by step, he made it across the chamber. After he finished, Lyra descended to meet him. She looked him over, her eyes calculating. "You endure differently than others," she said quietly. Lyra translated. Alex nodded. "I survive by thinking," he said. "I cannot fight like you, but I can see what others do not." She tilted her head. "You are clever. Humans may be weak, but you use your mind." Alex felt a small sense of pride. No one had ever praised him like this before. He had survived through thought, patience, and careful observation. In this palace of deadly warriors, he had earned a small measure of respect. The following days brought more tests. One of the most dangerous was a diplomatic exercise. Alex had to negotiate with alien leaders from other star systems. These aliens were proud, aggressive, and suspicious. They expected humans to fail, to give up, or to be intimidated. Alex relied on patience and listening. He did not try to dominate or bluff. Instead, he offered clear ideas, simple solutions, and a calm demeanor. The alien leaders were surprised. By the end of the session, they admitted his suggestions were clever, even useful. Lyra watched quietly, pleased. Then came the ultimate test of human courage. A young alien child had wandered into the palace gardens, and a small but vicious creature was chasing it. The court expected Alex to run. He was human, fragile, and the creature was fast. But Alex did not hesitate. He grabbed a nearby stick, distracted the creature, and guided it away from the child. The creature hissed and lunged, but Alex's quick thinking allowed him to trap it safely. The child was unharmed. The court murmured in astonishment. Lyra's eyes shone with approval. "Humans, you are strange," she said quietly. "You act differently. You survive differently. This is unusual." Alex realized that being human gave him an advantage the aliens did not expect. They relied on strength, power, and aggression. He relied on thought, courage, and adaptation. It was subtle, but it worked. He survived where others might have fallen. He impressed Lyra, not with power, but with persistence. As the days passed, the bond between Alex and Lyra grew, though silently. She watched him closely, noting how he treated servants, how he responded to challenges, and how he acted under pressure. He was polite, careful, and respectful, but also brave in ways the palace had not seen before. Alex began to notice her attention. She was deadly, yes, but she was also intelligent, curious, and in small ways amused by his presence. One evening, Lyra asked Alex to accompany her on a walk through the palace gardens. It was not a test, but a chance to speak quietly. The gardens were strange and beautiful, with floating flowers, glowing plants, and small streams of light. Alex tried to stay calm, but he felt nervous. He had never been alone with the deadliest princess of the galaxy. "You survive well," she said. Lyra translated. "You endure pain, danger, and challenges. Most humans would break quickly," Alex nodded. "We survive by thinking, by staying calm, by watching carefully. We are not strong like you, but we adapt." She smiled faintly. It was small but genuine. "You are clever and patient. Perhaps more dangerous than we thought." Alex felt warmth in his chest. She was dangerous, but he respected her. She had tested him, watched him, and now seemed to admire him in some way. He wondered if humans could truly earn respect from a being like Lyra, and he realized that so far he had. Over the next weeks, Alex continued to learn the palace ways. He observed the staff, the guards, and even the nobles, learning small details that gave him advantage. He realized that being human, small, fragile, unpredictable, was not a weakness but a strength. He could survive in ways the aliens did not expect. Then news arrived that troubled the palace. A rival empire had learned about the human engagement and considered the royal family weakened. They were planning an attack. The Council of Nobles debated what to do. Some argued that Alex should be removed, sent back to Earth, to protect the royal image. Others argued that humans were clever and perhaps Alex could be useful. Lyra turned to Alex. "You will help us," she said simply. "Use your mind, guide us." Alex was surprised. He had survived physical tests and endurance trials, but now he would advise in matters of strategy and defense. He was nervous but willing. He had learned patience, observation, and courage in small ways. Now he would use them to help the Empire. He spent the following days studying maps, alien tactics, and reports of enemy fleets. He noticed patterns others missed. He suggested strategies based on patience, deception, and small, precise attacks. The council was skeptical, but Lyra defended him quietly. She had learned to trust his mind. When the attack came, Alex's ideas worked. Small, careful maneuvers slowed the enemy. Traps and clever positioning caused confusion. Lyra fought fiercely in the battle, but it was Alex's planning that saved thousands of lives. The rival empire was defeated with minimal loss. The court began to see humans differently. Alex had proved that strength was not only physical. Humans could be clever, brave, and dangerous in ways that the alien empire had never understood. Lyra looked at him with new respect. He had survived every test, not by fighting like her, but by being human. That night, Alex and Lyra stood together in the palace gardens. The city below glimmered with lights. Lyra's golden eyes looked at him steadily. "You are remarkable," she said softly. "Not strong, not fast, but you endure. You survive where others fail. Humans may be small, but you are dangerous." Alex smiled faintly. He realized that the engagement, which had begun as an accident, was now becoming something more. He had earned respect, and perhaps, in some way, he had earned the attention of the deadliest princess in the galaxy. He knew challenges would continue. The palace still held dangers, and rival empires still threatened the empire. But he also knew that he had survived impossible tests, proven his human strength, and begun to form a bond with Lyra. He was not just a human trapped in a palace. He was a survivor, a thinker, and someone capable of changing the way the aliens saw his kind. Alex Carter, the human who had sat in the wrong seat, had begun to earn a place in the Empire. He was fragile yet brave, small yet clever. And slowly, the deadliest princess of the galaxy had begun to see him not just as a human, but as something remarkable. The palace was unusually quiet that morning. The sun of the alien world had barely risen, but Alex Carter already felt the tension in the air. Servants moved quickly, guards stood at attention, and even the floating lights above the hall seemed sharper and brighter. News had arrived overnight. A rival empire was approaching. They believed the royal family was weakened by the engagement to a human, and they planned to strike fast. Alex stood beside Lyra in the command hall. The room was enormous, filled with glowing maps, strange instruments, and alien commanders. Fleets of ships were represented as lights moving across the tables, showing where forces could meet, where defenses could be set, and where ambushes could work. The Council of Nobles argued loudly, their voices echoing off the walls. Most wanted to remove Alex immediately, fearing that a human could not help in war. Lyra, however, had learned to trust him. "We will listen to him," she said firmly. Her voice left no room for argument. "He has survived our palace. He sees differently than we do. Perhaps humans have a way we do not understand." Alex felt nervous. He had survived physical tests, rituals, and palace challenges, but now he would advise on a real war that could cost thousands of lives. He looked at the glowing maps and took a deep breath. "We can defend without rushing into battle," he said. "We can use traps, deception, and patience. Let them come and we will choose when and where to strike." The nobles whispered among themselves. Some were doubtful. Alex ignored them. He studied the maps, noticed gaps in the rival empires' fleet patterns, and suggested ways to divide their attention. He explained human tactics he had read about on Earth, ways to use small forces to control larger ones, to force enemies into mistakes, and to use terrain and timing. Lyra listened quietly, nodding occasionally. "We will do it your way," she said at last. "Prepare the forces. I will lead the battle, and you will guide our strategy." Alex spent the next hours coordinating defenses. He worked with alien engineers to create traps in key locations, marking paths where the enemy would be forced to go. He advised commanders on when to attack and when to hold back. Every decision required patience. Humans were not strong like the aliens, but their thinking could match the greatest minds of the Empire. When the enemy arrived, Alex watched from the command balcony. The ships glided toward the planet, confident that the royal family was unprepared. Alex's traps were invisible to them. Hidden energy nets, camouflage defenses, and small squads lying in wait would soon confuse the attackers. The first wave struck. It seemed overwhelming, but Alex had predicted it. The enemy fleet moved straight into the traps. Energy nets lifted ships from the ground, small squads of alien warriors struck precisely, and confusion spread through the rival forces. Alex stayed calm, directing defenders, giving instructions to use patience rather than brute force. Lyra was everywhere at once. She led squads on the ground, striking swiftly at key targets, her movements a blur of precision and power. Yet even she relied on Alex's guidance. She had learned to trust his judgment. Together, human thinking and alien strength became unstoppable. The battle lasted hours. Alex moved through the command hall, adjusting strategies as the enemy shifted. He stayed alert, observing patterns and noticing weaknesses the aliens missed. Small mistakes by the enemy became opportunities. Each time, Alex called for precise responses. His calm in the chaos helped the defenders remain focused. At one point, a group of enemy ships attempted a surprise attack near the palace gates. The nobles panicked, suggesting an immediate counterstrike. Alex stepped forward. "Wait," he said calmly. "Draw them in. They will expose their weak side if we are patient." The aliens looked at him in disbelief, but Lyra supported his plan. The enemy fleet moved forward, confident, and fell directly into the human-devised trap. Energy beams immobilized their ships, and squads of warriors struck from hidden positions. The battle was won with minimal losses. Alex felt relief, but he knew the danger was not over. After the enemy retreated, the palace was filled with cheers. The Council of Nobles, who had doubted him, now looked at Alex with astonishment. Humans, once thought weak, had outsmarted the enemy. Lyra stood beside him, her golden eyes glowing with pride. "You see," she said softly, Lyra translating. "Humans endure differently. You are clever, unpredictable, and useful. I underestimated you at first." Alex felt a smile creep onto his face. He had survived tests, rituals, and now war. He had earned the respect of the Deadliest princess and the court. More importantly, he had proven that humans were not weak. They could survive, think, and even save thousands of lives. The next days were busy. The palace repaired minor damages, celebrated victories, and welcomed congratulations from allied worlds. Alex continued to advise on defense, teaching others that patience, observation, and careful planning could match brute strength. The palace began to see humans differently. They were fragile, yes, but dangerous in ways the aliens had never considered. One evening, Alex and Lyra stood on the balcony overlooking the city. The lights of the alien metropolis shone like a river of stars. Lyra's expression was softer than before. She turned to Alex. "You have changed my view," she said quietly. "You are not just a human, you are remarkable. You survived, endured, and thought in ways I could not expect." Alex nodded. "I have learned from you too. You are strong, wise, and careful. Humans are small, but we can survive in strange ways. Together, we can face challenges no one expects." Lyra smiled faintly. It was the first real smile Alex had seen from her. It was small but genuine. He felt a strange warmth, knowing that trust had begun to form between them. Over the following weeks, Alex continued to prove himself. He trained with alien squads, advised on defense strategies, and even learned the palace ways more deeply. He saw that the Empire had many secrets, but humans, with patience and thought, could navigate them. He also noticed subtle changes in Lyra. She would glance at him when she thought no one was watching. She asked small questions about human life, about his world, and about how humans survived. Alex answered honestly, careful not to offend. Slowly, the bond between them grew, not by law but by respect and shared experience. Then a new threat appeared. A faction within the rival empire was planning a strike using covert forces. Alex analyzed the situation carefully, noticing patterns that the aliens overlooked. He suggested small teams, precise strikes, and clever traps. Again, the strategy worked. The covert force was neutralized without large battles. The court was amazed. Humans were now considered clever, brave, and indispensable. After the crisis, Lyra sought him out in the gardens. The moonlight reflected off the floating plants, casting a soft glow around them. She looked at him steadily. "You have done more than survive," she said softly. "You have changed how we see humans. Small, fragile, and unpredictable, you are dangerous in ways we did not understand." Alex smiled, feeling proud but humble. "I did what I had to do. Humans survive by thinking, by adapting. I only hope it helps your empire." Lyra nodded. She looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "You are more than I expected," she said finally. "Perhaps more than I hoped." Alex realized that his life had changed completely. He had arrived as a human unsure of alien laws, sitting in the wrong seat by accident. Now he was a trusted advisor, a survivor, and someone the deadliest princess of the galaxy respected. He knew challenges would continue. Enemies still existed and the Empire had many dangers ahead. But he also knew something else. Being human, with thought, courage, and patience, was a strength no one had expected. He had survived, adapted, and helped save a civilization. Alex Carter, the human who had sat in the wrong seat, had proven that survival, cleverness, and courage could match even the deadliest powers in the galaxy. And beside him, Princess Lyra began to see him not as a weak human, but as a remarkable partner, one whose mind and heart could change the course of the empire. The palace was alive with celebration. The enemy fleets had retreated, the empire was safe, and Alex Carter had proven himself in ways no human had ever done before. Banners glowed softly in the halls, and the palace staff moved with smiles rather than fear. The nobles who once doubted him now looked at Alex with astonishment. He had survived tests, rituals, and even war. He had earned respect, not just from the princess, but from the entire court. Alex stood beside Lyra in the grand hall. The room had been prepared for a ceremony, not a battle this time. The royal seat where he had once sat by accident now held a place of honor for him. The princess approached him, her blue skin glowing in the soft light, her golden eyes fixed on his. Alex felt a nervous excitement. This moment had been the start of his journey, and now it marked something more. "Alex," Lyra said quietly, Lyra translating, "you have endured, survived, and proven yourself, not by strength alone but by thought, courage, and patience. The bond we began by accident, I now choose to honor it willingly." Alex's heart raced. He had arrived at the Empire as a human uncertain of alien customs, and now the Deadliest princess was offering him something more than survival. She was offering partnership, respect, and trust. "I accept," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Not because it is required, but because I want to stand with you." The ceremony began. Alien nobles watched silently as Lyra and Alex moved through the ancient rites of bonding. It was not just a legal engagement, but a ritual meant to honor the choice and courage of the participants. Alex felt the weight of the moment. He was human, small and fragile in the eyes of the alien world, yet he had survived, adapted, and earned a place beside one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The bond was completed with the exchange of light symbols, a gesture that glowed briefly around their hands and wrists. The court erupted in quiet applause. Humans were now recognized not as weak allies, but as clever and capable beings who could survive, think, and influence the course of events. Alex had changed the Empire's perception of his kind. After the ceremony, Alex and Lyra walked through the palace gardens. The floating flowers glowed softly, and the streams of light reflected off the glassy walls of the palace. It was a calm moment after weeks of chaos, tests, and battles. "You have changed my world," Lyra said softly, her golden eyes warm. "I thought humans were small, fragile, and limited. I was wrong. You endure, you think, and you survive in ways we did not expect. You have shown me a new kind of strength." Alex smiled, feeling both pride and humility. "I learned from you too. You are strong, wise, and careful. Humans are small, but we survive. We adapt. Together we are stronger," she nodded. "Perhaps we can teach each other more. Your kind may be new to the Empire, but your ways, they are powerful." Alex realized that his accidental engagement had become a bridge between two civilizations. Humans had been underestimated, but now they had a voice, a place in the Empire, and respect. The palace staff treated him with honor, and even the nobles began to see humans as clever, brave, and dangerous in ways they could not predict. Over the following weeks, Alex settled into his new role. He trained with alien squads, advised on strategy, and helped integrate human ideas into palace decisions. The Empire began to thrive in unexpected ways, combining alien strength with human ingenuity. Lyra continued to observe him closely, sometimes silently, sometimes with questions about human life, culture, and thought. Each interaction deepened their bond. One afternoon, a young alien approached Alex, curious about his origin. Alex smiled and shared small stories about Earth, humans, and how they survived challenges. The child listened intently, fascinated by tales of human courage and cleverness. Alex realized that he was becoming a symbol, not just a human in the palace, but an example of how small beings could change perceptions through thought, courage, and persistence. Lyra watched from a distance, proud and quietly amused. Alex had arrived as a visitor, uncertain and fearful, and now he was a trusted advisor, a partner, and someone who had earned a permanent place in the Empire. She realized that humans, with their patience and unpredictable courage, could be more powerful than brute strength alone. The final test had been the engagement, and Alex had passed. The Empire was secure, the rival forces defeated, and humans had gained respect across the court. The palace no longer saw Alex as fragile or weak. He had proven that being human, thinking carefully, enduring pain, and adapting, was a kind of strength the galaxy could not ignore. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the palace gardens, Alex and Lyra stood side by side. The city lights below twinkled like stars, and the floating flowers glowed softly around them. Alex felt a sense of peace he had never known. He had arrived by accident, sat in the wrong seat, and now he was engaged to the deadliest princess. What had begun as a mistake had become a journey that changed the course of an empire. "Humans are strange," Lyra said quietly, Lyra translating. "Small, fragile, and unpredictable, yet capable of endurance and courage we did not expect. You have changed my view, Alex, and perhaps you have changed our empire as well." Alex looked at her, feeling both humility and pride. "We survive because we adapt, because we think, because we endure. Sometimes accidents lead to new beginnings. Perhaps this is one of those times." She smiled, a soft, genuine smile. Alex felt warmth in his chest. The bond was no longer a law or a mistake. It was choice, trust, and partnership. Humans had a place in the empire, and Alex had found a home in a world far from Earth. Over the next days, the palace welcomed human ideas more openly. Small councils of humans and aliens worked together, planning defenses, trade, and cultural exchanges. The empire grew stronger, not by power alone, but by combining thought, patience, and courage. Alex had become a symbol of this new era. He walked through the palace halls, observing the staff and nobles. He saw respect in their eyes, not fear. He felt proud of what he had achieved, but he remained humble. He knew that survival required constant attention, learning, and adaptation. Yet he also knew that humans, once underestimated, now had a voice. They had proven that small, fragile beings could change the galaxy in ways no one expected. Lyra approached him quietly in the gardens one evening. The floating flowers glimmered around them and the streams of light reflected off the walls. She took his hand in hers, a gesture of both respect and partnership. "We will face challenges ahead," she said softly. "But now we face them together. Humans have proven their worth, Alex, and you have proven yours." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment and belonging. "Together we can endure anything," he said. "Humans survive by thinking, adapting, and never giving up. Perhaps that is our greatest strength." Lyra smiled. "Then we will see the galaxy change together." The Empire had learned that strength was not only measured in power or weapons. It could be measured in courage, thought, patience, and adaptability. Alex Carter, the human who had sat in the wrong seat, had shown them this truth. He had survived, endured, and changed perceptions. He had gained respect, trust, and partnership with the deadliest princess in the galaxy. As they stood together in the palace gardens, Alex looked at the stars above. His journey had begun with a mistake, a simple act of sitting in the wrong seat. Now, it had led to a bond that changed the empire, saved lives, and gave humans a place among the stars. He realized that accidents, courage, and human ingenuity could reshape the galaxy in ways no one had ever imagined. And for the first time, Alex felt at home, far from Earth, beside Lyra, and within a world that had once seemed impossible to survive. The bond was complete. The empire was safe. Humans were respected. And Alex Carter, the human who had made a mistake at a banquet, had found his place among the stars.